Xavier, now that you've had a little bit of time to think about the win against UCF, just how important was that for the team heading into this game in 3 weeks?
It's huge. A win like that, against such a high-rated opponent, helps us confidence-wise, and we've been building confidence for the last 3 weeks. But just to finally, felt like we were getting there, and it was just time to just break that seal, and we did. So that's huge as we go into these couple of bye weeks for confidence reasons.
You've discussed both personally and also just at press conferences that you have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder heading into this Army game. Where does this come from?
I've always been, someone that has built their motivation off proving people wrong to begin with. So that's always in the back of my mind, always, every time I step on the field. But I had the opportunity to beat him when I was there as a freshman, and we couldn't get it done. And as the quarterback of the offense, I take responsibility for a lot of things. At the time, I just feel like I got that opportunity again, and we as a program, as a team, have that opportunity again. So I'm not going to psych myself out. It's another game that we got to prepare for, but I'm just going to make sure I do everything in my power to make sure I don't have that feeling again.
Both with you being a plebe and with the foggy weather, a lot of things were out of your control as a freshman. Just to have this second chance to take on Army, just what does this mean to you?
It's an honor to play in this game every single year. I've had the blessing, to do it all 3 years, because obviously it's a lot more than just a football game. I believe that with all my heart. I believe every game is more than just football. But just to have this opportunity, people dream of doing stuff like this, and I've had the opportunity to do it over and over again. So it's just another blessing to be able to, put the uniform on, put the helmet on that so many have put on before me, and just represent the Navy as a whole.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Scott Wyckoff.
Xavier, what does it mean to you and your teammates to have this opportunity to be given by a coach the whole week off and a chance to go home and be with your family for Thanksgiving?
It's a blessing. That speaks a lot to Coach Niamat and the staff. He's a big family guy. He knows what's important. Obviously, football is important. Winning is important. But he understands, the necessities of life and what it takes to, stay positive and keep moving forward. So he takes a lot of pride in being able to go see family, which is huge for us, especially as we have 3 weeks. A lot of guys are banged up, including myself. So gives us time to, get healthy, but, also spend some time with family and recharge before coming back and going to work to beat those guys.
Now, is this a total week off for you guys, or do you do some sort of off the field work to start getting ready for Army?
Yeah, we've we had film yesterday. We had, a foam roll stretch. We lifted yesterday and today. Tomorrow everyone gets to go home. So we're kind of on our own, and they're kind of telling us, we're giving this break for a reason. So, watch film. If you want to stretch, foam roll, get a light lift in, that's fine. But use this time to get your bodies right, because next 2 weeks we're going to be, going pretty hard to prepare ourselves. So we're still going to get some work done, whether it's mentally, physically. But we got to use this time to get our bodies right.
And do you think this will give you really the opportunity to get your bodies and your minds right to come back fired up for a big 2 weeks of practice?
Definitely. The practices leading up to Army Navy are always the most, intense of the year. So I just think, again, like being able to recharge your mind and your body helps a lot, for us to, give it everything we have these next 2 weeks and prepare for these guys. So I think it's super important. And we're all thankful for it, for the opportunity to go home, see family, and just rest our bodies.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks, you too.
One side note, Navy's played 9 consecutive weeks. Last off week was September 17th, including back-to-back games against top 25 opponents. Bill Wagner.
Xavier, why don't you talk about your memories of that game up at West Point as a plebe? Obviously it was a difficult situation you were thrust into. What do you remember about that game?
I remember losing. That's the biggest thing for me. I remember losing. And I remember standing on the field afterwards, looking at Army celebrate and the stadium go crazy for them. That's what I remember. To be honest with you, there's a lot to it, and I know it's a huge game, but that's what lives in my head, and it always will until it's reversed.
What about that long run that you had that came up just short of? I'm sure you've replayed that a million times. If you could have scored there, that game would have been totally different. And then that goal line stand they made.
again, another thing that lives in my head. I remember all summer at the end of every summer workout, I would just relive that play. I would start at that yard line and I would reenact the play, and I would finish through the end zone, because I just realized afterwards, how big that could have been and how that haunts me. If I just was able to get one more yard, if our offense were able to get one more yard, maybe the outcome of the game could have been different. But yeah, that lives in my head too. Like I said, it's a big game. It's not all about me. This is way more than me. It's way more than football, but huge game for our program. But individually, I definitely have some things that I want to, be able to overturn in my brain. So I'm excited for the opportunity.
And what about last year? They had put in a package designed specifically for you. The very first play of that package worked exactly as designed, and you had a big run. And who would have ever imagined you tweak your hammy on the very first play of the game? That must have been incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, it was, and it's hard at the time. And it was just, my faith was being tested because, it was a tough season, for us as a team and me personally. And I just felt like, this is getting another opportunity to, play and perform at the big stage. Like, this is it. And then first play or second play from scrimmage, that happened. And it's easy to ask, why me? But, I've had a great support system going through it that have helped me, keep my head and just keep perspective. And, just like that, almost a year has gone by. It's time to do it again. So make sure I stay healthy and don't kill myself. Make sure I do extra stretching, take care of my bodies now that it's cold. But yeah, got another opportunity. So.
And how much more prepared do you feel for Army now? I mean, you've been able to experience the environment of Army Navy twice. You're much further along in your development individually. Do you feel just 1,000 times more prepared for Army now than you were that freshman year?
Yeah, and if you asked me this last year, I would have said I felt 1,000 times more comfortable than I did the year before. This experience can't be faked or manufactured. There's nothing like game experience, and it just keeps building. So I feel comfortable. I played in huge environments already. So I'm excited for the opportunity. It's going to be awesome. Again, I'm grateful to be able to do it over and over again. People wish to do this one time, at least just experience what it's like. People just want to go to the game, and I get to play in it. So it's an honor. But yeah, I feel good. I feel prepared. I feel like I know what it takes to win ball games. And I think these guys do too. I mean, our team obviously does too. It's hard to win, but we know what it takes. So we're going to do everything we can in our power.
Thanks.
Kareem. He might just be listening. I'm gonna go back around then, and Phil.
Xavier, did your experience playing in Army Navy lacrosse at all this spring help you out as you get to take on Army this December?
I think everything, like I said, you can't fake experience. And for me, that goes in all aspects, because pressure is pressure, and performing under pressure is performing under pressure at the end of the day. So, being able to go and play, them this past spring in the cross at their place and win overtime and, performing the way I did and the way our team did, that just adds to the level of experience and just this atmosphere. So I think it definitely does play a role. Obviously, I don't know the exact attendance. There was a lot of people in that game, but I mean, obviously, Army Navy football game is, a lot more than that. But then again, just like I said, it's experience is experience. So I think it definitely does play, into my toolbox of, experience.
I don't know how frequently you get back to Long Island, but getting the opportunity to go home and be with your family, your sister, just everyone, just how important is that to you, since you do get so little time off out of school like the Naval Academy?
It means everything to me. I know it means everything to our team and everyone going back to their families. I mean, through everything that I've been through, there's been a group of people that have never stopped, believing in me and doing everything they can in their power to make sure I have the most success possible. And that's the group I'm going home to, my mom, dad, my sister, and, some other immediate family. But so it just means the most to be able to be with them, especially during Thanksgiving, because I'm so thankful for them and everything that they've sacrificed for me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Scott Wyckoff.
Just one more for me, Xavier. What's the academic schedule like for you once you get back from this Thanksgiving break leading up to the Army-Navy game?
Yeah, it's pretty rigorous, just because, finals are approaching. And then, once you get closer and closer to Army Navy, it's just harder and harder to stay focused in school because your mindset is so, dialed into that. So from experience, I can tell you that weeks like this and next week are going to be huge for me, for myself to, do the extra schoolwork now, go get the extra help now, because, when it gets to the week of Army Navy, it's going to be hard to want to go get extra help. You know what I mean? So it's rigorous, and, normal classes and finals coming up the week right after the Army Navy game is played. But, this is my third time doing it now. So, I feel like I kind of got a beat on it.
Thanks a lot.
Sir.
Wags.
So coach has talked about how impressed and pleased he's been with how you've run the offense the last 3 weeks that you've been the starter. What can you say about how the offense is going? Do you feel good about where things are at right now?
Oh yeah, I feel really good. Never satisfied, but I feel really good personally. I feel like things have slowed down tremendously for me on the field, drastically, which just helps overall being able to see defenses get us into the right play. And then I'm just super proud of the way our offense has been, performing. And I told our team, I was able to stand up in front of the offense before the Notre Dame game. And I said, look, guys, we strive for perfection and we have a huge wave of confidence. But there's going to be some type of adversity that comes in this game and every game that we play. It's human. Something's going to happen. But we have to be able to, stay together and not let the adversity waver our belief that we can win this game. And they've each game since then, they've been huge. They believe that, we've been able to stay together through, 3-and-out drives, things that haven't always gone right. But, our offensive line has been playing on a different level. Our A-backs, our wideouts, everyone's doing the little things, and it just turns into big plays. You got to shout out the B-backs and the way they're running, Daba and Anton. Our line's been, holding it down. So I'm excited. I think our offense is at a good level. I think we've been performing really well. So I'm excited about that.
Well, I was going to ask you about the offensive line because they really came off the ball hard against Central Florida. That was a pretty hefty, imposing defensive line. And there's been 3 weeks in a row that the offensive line has had to go against a really big, powerful defensive line, and they've done a good job. You think they're hitting their stride? And obviously, this game against Army, it's a real smash mouth game. It's a physical game. It's a who's going to move who off the ball type game. You feel good about where the O-line is?
Most definitely. I think they're confident, in everything that they do. I mean, like I said, they've been preparing against NFL prospects for the last 3 weeks, knocking heads with them play after play after play, and realizing that, we can move the football, consistently and well. So I think, that gives a lot of confidence going into Army. And these guys are tough. Army's a good team. And it doesn't matter record. Army-Navy game is different. It's different. And those guys play hard. They're playing for a lot, just like we're playing for a lot. So we know it's going to be a battle. We're ready for it. We're expecting it. And I think it'll just come down to the preparation. But like I said, I can't be more happy and thankful for, this offensive line. These last couple of weeks, they've been giving me everything that they have, and getting their bodies beat up for it. But to them, it doesn't matter. They just want to win at all costs. So I love them.
So last for me, I mean, your dad was a lacrosse player at Delaware. I'm pretty sure he coached you with the Crush. Is that right?
He did. He did.
What kind of influence has your father, John, been on you as far as your athletics career?
I can go on for days and days about him and the things that he's provided for me. He will always be my favorite coach, my best coach. But the thing that separates him for me is his ability to take everything that I've learned and continue to learn on the football field and create it into life. He's always been a guy that character is first above all else. And no matter what happens, he always stands by that to this day. And we just had a conversation a couple hours ago about everything I've been going through, and everything that I face on the football field and how that's leading me and preparing me for life when I get into the fleet and have to lead sailors and Marines. So he's been a tremendous influence for me. I wouldn't trade him for the world. I love him. I'm just so thankful that, he's been able to be a part of my life, because I know a lot of people don't have father figures or just family in general in their life. So I don't take that for granted, and I really appreciate them.
Can you talk about the run defense and what you guys have been doing? I mean, this is Central Florida was the third straight game where you really stopped the rushing attack and forced teams to throw. And these are powerful running teams, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and UCF. I mean, UCF changed quarterbacks because they could not run the ball and decided they're just going to throw. And they went with who they felt was their best passing quarterback.
Yeah, I think a big, I guess the best part of our run game has got to be the interior guys. I mean, they're doing their job. They don't get all the glory from all these TFLs or all these sacks or whatever, but I mean, those guys are doing their job, just taking up blockers, getting in the backfield, making the running back have to bounce outside or have to, go where he's not trying to go. So that guys like John Marshall and that Will Harbor or Gianni and Ramos can go make plays downhill. So it's our interior guys are like the unsung heroes. I mean, they are just absolutely balling right now. I mean, they're playing. Biscuit's probably one of the most undersized nose tackles in the country, but you see him going up every single day, like running these guys back, getting to his gap, getting off blocks all the time, making it really difficult for these offensive linemen to block them. And Biscuit's doing well, Clay's doing well, and Busick's doing well too. So it's like those guys up front don't get all the glory for the plays, but I mean, they are up there doing the work so that I can be free, so that John Marshall can be free, and the LBs can be free too to go down and make some big plays. But it's also Newberry's scheme. He's doing some pretty good blitzes for us. Like our blitzing has been really good these past few games. I mean, second half of Notre Dame, just blitzing, like the zero pressures have been awesome. And then same thing, followed that into UCF. So just I guess the scheme and the guys up front have been just doing their job.
And can you talk about how that now carrying that over into the Army game? I mean, it's always your number one challenge is to stop their running game. And, unlike Cincy and Notre Dame and Central Florida if they had to go to the pass, they were capable, but Army, that's not their forte. They're going to just keep trying to run the ball. It's going to be kind of a battle of wills, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to get a run defense is like the best part of our defense, clearly, but it's good, but it's also it's tough because it's different. Whereas most teams, the running game isn't as quintessential as Army's is. They live and die by the run game, similar to us, so they theirs will be better than other teams have been in the past, and we have to be, dang near perfect on that day. Just we can't let up any big plays could be the game. You see an Air Force, like it's that close at the end of the day. It's a 1-score game, a field goal game, or it could be even less, so it's just tough. But our defense is up to the challenge. So I know our defense is going to be preparing for the next few weeks for that. And we're gonna play a dang near perfect game, I believe. We'll be getting after those guys, and they haven't seen a defense like this. Since I've been here, I think they'll be really in for a rude awakening come that Saturday.
Thanks, Nick.
One note on the Navy run defense. Navy's currently 4th in the country in rush defense at 85.6. James Madison, Michigan, and Georgia are the only 3 teams ahead. But even more impressive is the fact that Navy is the only one that has faced 2 top 10 rushing offenses this year. In Air Force, who is number 1, and UCF, who is number 7, and will face a 3rd in 2 weeks in Army, who is number 2.
Dang.
Scott Wyckoff.
Yeah, Nick, what does it mean to you guys to have Coach Niumatalolo put the trust in you and your teammates to give you this week off and let you go home for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it means a lot. He trusts us so much to let us, I feel like most teams would be forced to stay here. We've been, made to stay here most years, but it's letting us go home, letting us go back to our families, and that requires trust. Guys could go back home and screw around and not take care of their bodies, but I know my teammates, that's not an option. We know what's at stake. We know what's important, and Army's the most important game of the year. So guys, it's never in doubt what they're going to do. They're going to all choose the right. They're going to all take care of their bodies, take care of themselves, get the rest that we need, because we haven't had a break since week 3 or week 4. So I know guys will be taking advantage of that since week 3. And yeah, it's a lot of trust, and I appreciate Coach for letting us do that, to let us go home and see our families, because like I said, most teams, I haven't been able to go home since I wasn't even traveling my plebe year, so the time back home is going to be great. But I do appreciate Coach's trust in us, because he knows that we know what's important. We've been working since January, to get to this point and to go beat Army. And no one's going to squander that for a couple days at home. Everyone knows what's the main thing, and everyone knows like what to keep important.
So while this week you haven't been on the practice field, what have you still been doing off the field getting ready for Army?
Yeah, we still had like a big stretch day yesterday and a lift yesterday and a lift today. And guys are watching film on their own, getting ready for the game. But I think that outside off the field wise, yeah, definitely gonna be a lot of film watching this next week for guys. Just no one's gonna waste their time. Like I'm not saying go to like lift every day, break your body down, but film's gonna be the big key because training your mind against this offense is gonna be the paramount, deciding factor. If you've seen it before, you can play a lot faster. Like I've said before, if you've seen it before on film, you go out there on Saturday, you can go boom, make that play a lot faster than if you haven't seen it before. So I think guys are gonna be really honing in on their film watching in the next coming up week.
Even though you're off this week and getting a chance to go home, do you think once you come back and get back on the practice field next week that you guys will take it up another notch, chomping at the bit to go at it again?
Oh yeah, you always get that after a break, after a week off going into summertime, after spring break, before spring ball, like everyone's always comes back like just hungry to go play again. And I fully believe that's going to happen again for us after these couple of days off. Just everyone's going to get back and just be like, okay, we have one goal in mind, that's beating Army again, just getting back into that hungry state. We have 2 weeks at that point just to really get after it and get physically ready and mentally ready and just getting all that stuff together. So I think, yeah, guys will be super hungry. I'm going to be super hungry going into that next week. So heck, I'm hungry now thinking about the game. So I'm ready to go.
Thanks a lot, Nick.
For sure.
Phil Bergman.
Nick, the last bye week was September 17th, right, Scott?
Yes.
To have 9 straight weeks of football, to just have this weekend off to not just relax, but rest your bodies. How crucial is this for the team?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most underrated aspects of the football season is how just worn down you get. I mean, other sports are physical too, but football is one of those that's just different, man. You're just getting beat up every single week. And, it's unfortunate, but we are an undersized team. A lot of teams that we play against are like 6'8", 6'9", no tackles, 335 pounds, and they're huge guys and they just hammer us over and over again. But we still play to win. We still play to beat them. So we play hard and go after them and get physical, and so that wears on your body, especially with 9 straight weeks of that. And yeah, there's been times where you just wake up and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so beat right now. But you have to go get ready for Tulsa, for Memphis, for Houston, and so having this week off, having this weekend off just to relax and just recover is going to be, I need it. I know I need it. A lot of guys on the team are going to be needing it. And that's going to be, it'll give us that much more of an edge on Army because have the game plan ready. We'll have, the strategy, but also just the freshness of having that extra week off. So I'm excited, and I know we need this a lot.
John Marshall's taken it to a new level these past few weeks. Just, I guess, for a casual football fan that doesn't really know the ins and outs, what is so special about what he's done out on the gridiron?
Yeah, I think the best thing about John's plays is that it's, as a player, I can see it, like just the savviness of he's making the quarterback think, okay, I'm going for the dive, or I'm going for the jet sweep. Now I'm going for you. And so John will blitz and try and get in the quarterback's head. Or when he's trying to read John's like, I'm going to try and fake like I'm going for the dive, psych I'm going for you. Now I'm going to fake like I'm going for the jet, then go for the dive, then go for the quarterback. And so his savviness and his just, his pass rushing has been great. And just his understanding of the game has really given him a super just huge edge in these past, the season alone. So yeah, John just has a way of just knowing the game, and that's what makes you plays, man. Like if you saw John on the street, you wouldn't think, okay, he's some crazy baller, but you see him play and it just comes alive because he knows the game. He knows how to get to the quarterback, where to put his body and coverage or on the pass rush, and so yeah, John's game is, it's, you see it in the sack numbers and all that stuff, but there's so much more to John's game than just that. And so I've loved playing with John. He's a great player. It makes me better every day. I try and learn from him. Yeah, he's been playing well. It's because of his savviness, especially.
And lastly, just to learn more about you as a person, I know you said you wanted to be an astronaut. What is it about space that you're so fascinated with, and where did this fascination of space come from?
Oh, geez, I'm not sure where it came from, but just the fact that it's so wide and so expansive and so unknown. I mean, obviously, like the world is so big and so wide and so vast, right? But yet alone, like space itself, there's things that are astronomically just so much bigger than us and so much, it's just, you can't even wrap your head around how crazy things are out there, how large things are and how just different it is. And And just the idea that we could actually go out there and explore that and learn more about that. Yeah, I'm super passionate about that. So I love it. I always tell Caniglio some random facts, about like, hey, why is the moon looking like this right now? And they always laugh. But I love that stuff. It gets me geeked up. But yeah, I just because space it's so unknown, and what we know is so just little about what God's created, and it's just I love it. I want to learn everything about it. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I'll make another trip around Wags.
Well, I was going to ask you about John Marshall as well, because I mean, you guys are both outside linebackers, and I know it's a slightly different position, but I mean, is it inspiring to see what he's doing and at the high level he's playing and getting National Defensive Player of the Week and American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Week? Is it motivate the defense? I mean, I think it was cool. I don't know if you saw the video clip, but after he got his fourth sack, he counted them off on his fingers. I mean, you gotta love that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited mostly because John puts the work in every day, and now it's being seen on the field. Like he's been playing well at a high level the entire year, and last game was just the culmination of that. And he's going to do even more stuff in Army Navy, I promise you that. But it just shows the work that John's put in. I'm just super excited for him because he just grinds every day and just he's never like too high or too low. He just keep himself in that even keel state of mind. Just I'm ready to get better every single day. And then for us on defense, yeah, it motivates us. Like I can go like make these plays, I can go try this stuff and try that stuff. And so on defense, we see, how great John's doing. That builds us all up and encourages us to try and, be better and try and, play to that standard. But yeah, John's playing at a whole different level. So I'm excited for what he's done so far, but more excited for what he's going to do in a couple weeks against Army.
Wags, you forgot about in AAA Athlete of the Week. That's also a big honor.
Absolutely. So I know the season hasn't been what you'd hope, but I mean, I think there's some encouraging signs, some positive signs here at the end with how well you played during this very difficult stretch against Cincy, Notre Dame, Central Florida. Obviously, that win Saturday was very uplifting. If you could close out and beat Army, you finished 5-7, which, can look a lot different than other records might. Do you think it's a positive springboard for the young guys that are coming back especially with so many returning players?
Yeah, I think especially so. Obviously it's a bit, as a senior who's gonna be leaving after the next game, it's like, what could we have been, But the young guys who comprise the other 10 spots on our defense, once me and John leave, I think it's a big springboard for them because they see how great this team can be and how great this defense can be. We can play with anybody in the country, I believe. Any offense, if we're doing our job and playing within ourselves, not trying to do too much, we can be great. And so I think that's going to be their encouragement going into next season, going into spring ball, is that they can do a lot of big things, but they have to do, they have to make sure that their little things, that their details are all, in the right order, because if that gets out of whack, then you'll lose games to teams like Delaware, Houston, and and that's going to be, frustrating. But I think that they'll be great next year. I think it's very encouraging seeing how we've played in the past couple of games and how much better we can still be. We beat UCF, yeah, but we could have still played a lot better. We still left a lot of, good plays on the field. But, I think next year they'll see that and they'll be able to go out there and attack every day in practice and try and, get everything straightened out, get everything right going into the games, and they'll be an elite defense next year.
Thanks.
Scott Wyckoff.
Nick, with your passion for space and your dream of being an astronaut, how cool is it that you're going to be wearing these incredible NASA uniforms for the biggest game of your career?
Yeah, I mean, when they announced it, I was like, "There's no way." It's like the most perfect, culmination of my time here. And obviously, it wasn't made for me, of course, but just I love space. I was telling Phil, I study space. I've always wanted to be an astronaut. It's just the most perfect thing. And so just to be able to close out my career here with the NASA meatball on the shoulder, with the logo on there, it's just okay, that's perfect. So I'm excited though. I mean, there's no way I'm losing in that jersey. Gosh, come on, man. But yeah, I love it. I'm super excited.
I'm not sure if it's a secret or not, but who was the model in the reveal that was jumping around in the uniform in front of you guys?
Oh, it was Marcel Gleaton from last year, the senior from last year.
He was awesome.
He did amazing. Yeah, he was super hyped up and fit the jersey, well, still after being done for a year. I was like, okay, Marcel.
Now, will you get to get that helmet to take that with you?
Yeah, I'm definitely buying the helmet for sure. Yeah, I'm not letting that thing go
Thanks a lot.
for sure.
Bill Bergman.
Nick, especially as you start your career as a pilot after this, this opportunity to have Thanksgiving with your family, how special is this for you?
It's a good question, actually. Yeah, so being a pilot, I'll probably be in Pensacola next year, and I'll be away from them. I'll be far from Ohio because there's no naval, air stations anywhere near Cincinnati, Ohio. So I mean, it'll be tough to be able to be around my parents for Thanksgiving again. So this last time, of really being around them for Thanksgiving, it's gonna be super cool, actually. Yeah, I'm really excited for that because who knows how tough it'll be in the future to get everyone together, with their job and their schedules and everything. But this one time of being able to go home, and not have to be anywhere else, no other obligations is huge. I know my parents are super appreciative of that, and they're going to be super excited when I get home tomorrow. But yeah, I'm really excited about that.
You were telling us before the start that you have a few siblings close in age. Just what's your favorite thing to do with them when you're home?
Oh man, so actually, I don't think many people actually know this, but we actually all play instruments. So we'll all just like play songs and just make some covers for songs. And I'm no singer. My oldest brother sings really, really well. My mom sings well too, so they'll sing. My sister can play the piano, the drums, and guitar. She can do anything. My brother does he can like mix music too, and I play the bass. I'm like, pretty basic. But yeah, we'll like make songs together and we'll sing and we'll just hang out. I mean, we're all super close. We're all close in age, obviously, but like we're all super close together. We're always talking and texting back and forth during the days. So yeah, we hang out a lot.
I got to follow up. Do you use a pick? Do you freehand? Do you slap? What
I
style?
freehand. I don't like picks.
Thank you.
So turkeys on Thursday. Does that mean Skyline Chili on Friday?
I'm gonna get Skyline Chili on Wednesday, actually. Once
Okay,
I
there you
get
go.
back to Ohio, I'm getting Skyline Chili right away, and then we'll get some turkey on Thursday.
Each week we've talked to you about the defensive performances, but it always seems like there's been that big play that's really hampered the defense. Looking back on the win against UCF, it seems to our eyes it was one of those games where you were able to do away with that and everything seemed to come together.
Yeah, we certainly weren't perfect. We give a few big plays, but not as many as we have. We knew going into that game, if we could stop the run and not give up explosives that led to drives, be good in the red zone when they got down there, which I thought we were, and then get off the field on third down, we'd have a pretty good chance to win, and that certainly was the case.
This week, though you're not practicing, what type of things are you able to do to prepare for Army, even though you're not on the field with your team?
Yeah, well, we get to rest up, relax, not relax, I shouldn't say that. Rest up, heal up a little bit, give these guys just a little bit of a break. And also for us, it gives us a head start in the game planning process. You already have some things in place, but you can really deep dive into it when you don't have to prepare for, going out for a practice necessarily. And so just got in early this morning, just been watching film all day, starting to chase ghosts already and formulate game plans and exchange ideas and things like that. So it's nice to have this. We have not had this before. We've always had the 2 weeks. One year we had a week to get ready. And so it's nice to have a little bit of a buffer going into, 2 straight weeks of really getting after it.
What do you think it means for both the players and also for you and your staff to have this week free of on the field practices around the Thanksgiving holiday?
I think it's great. Our players need it. We need it. We've been on a pretty good grind here for the last 9-10 weeks. And so, hopefully we get to rest and recuperate a little bit, come back rejuvenated, get to enjoy a couple of days off, families, things like that. And these guys they'll be chomping at the bit when they get back here on Sunday.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good holiday.
Thanks, you too, Scott.
Phil Bergman.
Coach, just for you personally, how nice is it for you to kind of have this weekend off and get to spend time with family?
Yeah, it's great. It's Coach Nehemiah does an awesome job of making sure that we don't live in the office, even during the season. It's certainly good to get some downtime to spend with your kiddos, and it's always good to have good quality family time. And usually this time of year we have a game, so you don't get this kind of time. But it's nice. It's different, but it certainly is nice.
We were talking with Nick Straw about John Marshall, and he was talking about how John's like almost playing mind games with the quarterback into different moves. Could you just go into a little detail about this next level stuff that John's doing out there?
Yeah, I don't know about mind games. He's doing a good job. Obviously, when he comes off the edge, he's always, I think, once he makes a couple of plays off the edge, and he may be in the quarterback's head a little bit, but he does a good job when he's not coming, of making it look like that he is. He's always a threat to come off the edge there in some different ways. And the thing that John's doing right now is, when he's got opportunities to make plays, he's making them. And when he gets a one-on-one, you feel like he's got a good chance to win that one-on-one battle. And so it certainly is playing at a high level. Been really pleased with the way he's playing on Saturdays, but also the way he prepares during the week, the way he practices. The preparation, film study, and what we're doing with our game plan. He's playing like a senior who's played a lot of snaps, and it's good to see him, reaping the results for all the work that he's put in.
If you were to look at John just on the street, you wouldn't think he was the reigning National Defensive Player of the Week. Just how impressive is it what he's doing out on the gridiron?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't. I give him a hard time about his noodle arms sometimes, but no, it's just football player, and he's smart, savvy, and plays really, really hard, and applies the things that he's being coached to do on the field. And he's smart enough to, you can give him a little leeway on certain things. And he's able to anticipate things really, really well. So I'm just really, really pleased. Can't say enough good things about the way John's playing right now.
Thank you.
Kareem Copeland, you have anything? All right, he just might be listening. Bill Wagner.
He's ordering some shoes right now.
Hey, Coach News. So yesterday, Coach Neil Matalolo was saying that Greg Morgenthaler is the best equipment manager in the business, and Scott Strassmeyer is the best sports information director in the business. And then I said, don't forget the best beat writer in the business. And Scott said, oh, I don't see Kareem on this call. You believe that?
Scott's pretty quick-witted, man.
So I was going to expound on Marshall as well. Can you just talk about his development? I mean, he was a safety. I mean, really, he was a wide receiver in high school. I think he was more considered a receiver as a recruit than a D-back. I don't know what he came in here as. I can't remember. But, then he started as safety and moving up to striker. And I think for a while you were back and forth as to where was his best position. Can you just talk about develop to the point where now he's a playmaker. He's playing at the level Jake Springer did a few years ago.
Yeah, it certainly is. Going back to, I can remember having him coming on his official visit. My wife and I sat at the table with his parents and him. And he was a wide receiver in high school. We just thought he was a really good athlete, and as the way that we recruit here, you recruit good football players and you figure out, where they're going to play when they get here, especially the really good athletes like John, the multi-sport guys. And that's where we started him out at safety. We did move him back to high safety at one point. Last year when we were dabbling with the 3 high safety stuff, we felt like that was the best place to put him to get our best players on the field, and kind of got back away from that. But I think it's just, it's a developmental program, and you've seen him get incrementally better, every year. And I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Caniglio. I think he's done a phenomenal job with John too, adding to his skill set and the tools that he carries into games. And he's just playing with a lot of confidence, more so than he ever has. And because of that, we're bringing him a little bit more often than we have in the past too, because he's making the plays when his number gets called. And so just, again, I can't say enough good things about his progress. And it goes back to the way he prepares during the week, and that pays off on Saturdays. And those are the things that people don't see. All the work that he's put in. He's been here for a long time. He's played a lot of meaningful reps. He practices extremely hard during the week. He prepares the right way. So all that stuff's paying off for John, and he's playing within our system, making the plays that come to him, and not doing things to get himself out of position or to cost us here and there. And that's the thing that's different about John is he makes plays that come to him, but he'll also go get an assist by turning the football back to somebody else, and just understands the defense really, really well, what we're trying to get accomplished.
So I know it's early in the process and you probably just started getting into the scout, but I'm guessing that periodically over the course of the season, you watch Army here and there just to get a feel for what they got. Number 2 ranked rushing offense in the country. This is going to be good versus good, strength versus strength. Tell me your early thoughts on this challenge.
Well, I think they're a good football team, and we know it's going to be a dogfight. We know if they're going to come in and play with their hair on fire, we expect nothing less. And they're a good football team. We got a lot of guys coming back. You said the second leading rushing team in the country for a reason. They play extremely hard. I think they're extremely well coached. They're doing a little bit more to the trading and the shifting and some more eye candy than they have in the past. So you don't get a good beat on formational things and tendencies. And I think they're doing a really good job with that. So that's going to be a challenge. Sure, we'll see something different that they haven't done all year coming into our game. So, part of the time you spend preparing for this game is chasing some ghosts, things that you think you might see, and making sure that you have a plan. And you got to be careful about how much time you spend chasing those ghosts, because you may not see them, but you also have to have something ready to go that your kids can go out and execute. And for us, the most important thing, and probably the mistake that I made against the Air Force, was being a little too complicated with the plan. So the most important thing for us is to allow our players to go out and play fast and not to think a whole lot. So that's kind of what I'm aiming to do at this point. And but yeah, just taking it all in right now. Jotting down ideas. I've already got a notebook full of notes and things that we need to talk about as a D staff, and we'll exchange ideas and come up with a plan that our guys can go out and execute, and let the cards fall where they may.
You played 3 very physical teams here the last 3 outings. The Cincy, Notre Dame, Central Florida, all very big up front. I know that Army, this is going to be a test of physical will, and each team is going to try to out physical the other. It's all about who can move the other off the ball. Do you feel good about where your defense is at in that regard? Yeah, I do. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, they're a completely different style than what we've seen outside of Air Force, but they come off the ball 1,000 miles an hour, and the team that wins at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football is typically the team that wins this game. We know that, our guys know that, and I think we're really excited about the challenge. In terms of I did not realize until Coach Nimrod said it, but the UCF had a 6'10" tackle, and the other side guy was 6'8". I went back and looked at the depth after he mentioned that, because I hadn't picked up on it, but the Army's not going to be that imposing, right? Or like Notre Dame was? No, they won't be as big, but they come off the ball a little different than those football teams do. It's just a little different style, So sometimes when you're playing those guys that are 6'10", it's easier to play with leverage, for us, and some of the things that we do. We're able to handle that relatively well. When it comes to pass rush, things like that, it becomes a little bit of a problem because you get swallowed up a little bit. But in the run game, we've been able to hold up against those type of teams because we play with great technique and leverage and pad level and those kind of things. But this is a completely different style of offense that we're going to see. So we're not going to see 6'10" guys from Army, obviously, but you're going to see guys that come off the ball with great pad level and try to roll you out. And so it's totally different.
Scott Wyckoff.
I'm good, Coach. Have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too, Scott.
Bill Bergman.
Coach, one from me. I'm doing a story on the Adams twins and just all they've been through in the past year. How powerful is it to you just to kind of witness their positivity through everything they've been through off the gridiron? Yeah, it's awesome. I don't know if I've ever been around 2 guys quite like the Adams twins. Just all the adversity that they've dealt with, injuries, personal things that they've gone through. And you would never know it when you come out to practice. Never been around 2 guys that lead as much as those 2 guys do in their position group in their room. For guys that don't play a lot of snaps. They're both backups on defense. Both play on special teams, but because of the way they come to work every day, their work ethic,
You know, they're perpetually optimistic. You know, it inspires the guys around them, and you can't have enough guys like that on your football team. And you know, those two kids are some of the toughest kids I've ever been around. You know, they've been here through the long haul, through all the COVID, you know, through that stuff that everybody else has gone through, those senior class, but also on top of that, you know, you throw in some personal tragedy and maybe not the type of career that they wanted from a playing standpoint here, but it hasn't affected the way that they prepare and come to work and the attitude that they have every day. I can't say enough good things about those two guys. And we're going to certainly miss them when they're gone. I know that.
Thank you.
Wags.
Well, back to Army real quick. From what you have seen so far, recent years they've been heavy quarterback, fullback as far as their option game. Is it still that way? Are they incorporating the slots more this year? What are you seeing?
No, I'd say it's still a quarterback, fullback offense for the most part. They certainly do try to get the ball to their slots on the perimeter, but they are a quarterback, B-back offense. That's where it all starts for them.
And they've got some pretty beefy fullbacks. I don't know how many guys are still there, but the last year they came at you with 3 guys that were all 250 or more. They're a little bit different than Navy fullbacks that you see in practice. How do you handle guys like that?
Yeah, 2 of those guys coming back, and they're a load. You know, you try your best not to let the ball get north and south when they carry it. You got to make the ball bounce and go east and west with those big bodies. Otherwise, once they get going, you know, they're falling forward for 4, 5, 6 yards. So it's that's going to be a challenge for us for sure.